I had two kinds of leukemia. For my case, white blood cells was too high.
Sophie's chances of surviving, maybe 10%, maybe less than that.
Things were getting worse and worse and worse.
We received a phone call and I answered the phone and the doctor said, if you want to see your sister alive, you have to come here right now.
I never felt I was so close to death.
Who are you to tell me my daughter has 3 days to live? That's the worst thing that can happen to somebody.
It was very hard, the worst period of our life.
The world stopped turning.
So we want to try something else. Why not?
Hope is what you have to maintain when you go through something so difficult.
I thought that it's gonna be okay and I go return to my life. I never thought that I could die.
Welcome to The Incurables. I'm Don Wildman. Life can be difficult for any teenager. Socially, there's pressure to fit in. There are often personal issues of self-esteem. But Sophie Kim didn't suffer from typical teenage problems. Her attitude was always upbeat. She was popular. Until something happened that made her very different from virtually every other teenager. At 14 years of age, Sophie suddenly went from vibrant young student athlete to struggling hospital patient. Worse yet, doctors didn't know how to make her better. Her parents, obviously distraught, could only hope that the strong will of their young daughter would ultimately see her through. Sophie Kim's positive outlook developed at a young age. She enjoyed a happy, healthy childhood in Montreal, Canada. As a young girl, Sophie was always eager to please.
She's a good daughter. She makes friends easily. She's a real good student and she loves life in general.
She was like a star for us. We love her much.
I had a nice childhood. I was an active girl. When I was young, I really loved dance. I take some courses of dance. I danced 8 years and I play a lot of basketball. I have a brother older than me, 3 years older than me, so I follow him everywhere. I do crazy things like him.
Sophie and Pascal were very, very close. When Micheline and I divorced, Sophie was 6 years old and Pascal was 9 years old.
Sophie and Pascal lived with their father and his girlfriend Danielle in a small town outside Montreal. It was a peaceful place to be. They got to see their mother on weekends and holidays. The siblings both attended private school. Sophie was a good student and an excellent athlete. That's why it was so strange when she began to feel not quite right physically.
When I was 14 years old, I noticed that I have sore throat, I have wellnesses on the right side of my face, and I was always really tired. That was unusual for me.
Around this time, Sophie cut her finger, and the wound simply wouldn't heal. This strange development, combined with Sophie's general lack of energy and stamina, worried her parents.
They make me a blood test.
They say, okay, something wrong. We noticed something. Maybe you're better to go to Montreal Children's Hospital to have it checked. And by the way, better to bring a suitcase. We suspect something was very, very bad.
I got a phone call from my son Pascal and tell me that his sister is in the hospital. So I asked what Sophie Kim is doing in the hospital. He said, we don't know, they are running tests and we will know or tomorrow or the day after. And so I started to worry.
I was admitted at the Montreal Children's Hospital and I met the doctors. They told me that I have leukemia. I saw me in good health. That was my image always.
She always was very, very healthy. She had a cold sometime, but that's all, never more than a cold.
That's the thing, it was difficult because in the inside, I was not feeling that I was sick.
Biologically, the diagnosis made sense. Leukemia is most often a fatal disease that impairs the body's ability to fight infection and heal itself. Psychologically, the news was bewildering and devastating.
The worst thing that can happen is when a doctor is telling the parents that the child has cancer.
Sophie Kim had gone from star athlete to leukemia patient in a matter of days.
I was completely feeling so helpless, can't do nothing for her. I kept on asking myself a lot of questions for a period of 15 days. But afterward, I decided that I was going to do something, starting by getting information. She had acute myeloid leukemia.
I understand what leukemia was. I know what leukemia was because I read something, and when they told us that, we started to make some research on the book, and because that time we didn't have internet.
They proposed to start a chemotherapy treatment. So that's what we're doing because it was really aggressive.
I knew that back in 1989, there was about 80% chances that she might recover from that.
She was always like a very active kid. She was very positive kid, so that would be cured quite easily.
The chemo was a really hard part of my life. The secondary effect of the chemo is really rough. I lost my hair, I vomit all the time. I take cortisone and it makes my face swell up. I was really sick.
You could see she's swelling and now she loses her hair. So this is physically what you could see, and she's more tired. You could see she's sick right now. Actually, at this point, yeah, you could see she's sick.
The most difficult thing it was that when I look in the mirror, I don't recognize me at all.
It was difficult to see my sister suffering like that, and I couldn't do nothing for her.
Chemotherapy is not a cure-all, but normally some benefit is seen from its use. But for Sophie, there was no progress. Then doctors made a grim discovery. There was another cancer growing inside her.
The both together gives me around 10% of chance to be cured.
At that time, there had been no protocol yet developed to treat two different forms of leukemia simultaneously. Doctors were at a loss.
Chemo after chemo after chemo, things were getting worse.
The chemo was working.
The bone marrow tests were showing no improvement whatsoever. They said that they were going to use a new chemotherapy, which will be 30 times more aggressive than what they already gave her.
They were experiment a different treatment all the time, so they don't know if she'll be cured with that or not.
They were going, let's try this, let's try that, if it works. So I knew right there that she might be taken as a guinea pig.
When I was looking at it, I say, I believe you don't know exactly how to treat her.
Again, they are gonna test some drugs on her. No, this is gonna kill her. I'm not gonna let this happen.
Sophie's chances of surviving, maybe 10%, maybe less than that. So we want to try something else. Why not?
We agreed to go for alternative therapy at that point.
She does lot of research on alternative medicine or different kind of approach. She was very, very good at that.
Sophie's mother poured herself into the research. It was, after all, her daughter's life on the line. One of the most promising discoveries was an alternative cell treatment touted by therapist Jacinthe Levesque-Nassans. It was based on a compound called 714X.
714X is a non-toxic health product designed to help the body to raise its natural defenses, including the immune system.
The therapy was developed by microbiologist Dr. Gaston Nassans.
Nous avons un produit à la base qui est un produit camphré qui comporte une molécule d'azote et qui permet de restituer certaines fonctions biologiques.
The family decided to try the alternative therapy, so Michelin began administering 714X to Sophie, even against doctors' orders.
They say it doesn't cure nothing. So if it doesn't cure nothing, if we tried that on her, why are you so so mad about it. We can try it.
714X works in 3 ways. First, the mineral salts it contains act directly on the lymph node, eliminating harmful toxins. Second, 714X saturates the body with nitrogen, halting the cancer cells from paralyzing the immune system, which allows the body to naturally combat the cancer cells. Third, the trace minerals in 714X promote strong cellular communication and help maintain a healthy blood pH. The compound must be injected directly into the lymph nodes every day.
Par injection périnodulaire simplement, de toutes petites quantités quotidiennement, et puis il n'y a pas de difficulté à le faire.
Sophie's condition began to improve almost immediately.
A month and a half later, I go back to the hospital to have a blood test.
I'm the one who phoned the lab to see what's going on, what was the results. She's in remission and nobody is in a urge to call me and tell me this. I just can't believe that.
We knew that it's a 714X, put her in this position.
That saved her life. I'm sure I'm positive about that.
And we feel that everything is okay now. She's completely back in operation.
I was happy about it, obviously.
She come back at home, she jump on all the book to study, to trying to catch up the almost the year she missed at school.
Given a new lease on life, Sophie intended to take full advantage. But her joy didn't last long. Sophie Kim had endured what no child should ever have to endure. At 14, she had battled 2 separate forms of cancer, and won. Doctors couldn't explain her recovery, but Sophie didn't care. She simply wanted to get her life back, and for 9 months, she was a kid again. Then her leukemia returned. All the pain, all the hard work she had put in to beat back the disease was for naught. It was a devastating blow.
When she had the relapse, she was completely destroyed because she knew what this meant exactly.
I go back to the Montreal Children's Hospital to get the chemotherapy because I have to raise the blood cells.
As it was an urgent situation, I let her be admitted in the hospital because I didn't know what to do.
Even though it's not what they wanted to do, Sophie's parents allowed her to go back in for chemotherapy. While at the hospital, Sophie was hit with yet another setback.
I caught a staph infection.
This type of bacteria is very, very hard to work with because it becomes very resistant to any type of antibiotics.
And the doctor don't know what to give me to stop this infection.
The infection was depriving Sophie's reproductive organs of oxygen. Doctors feared that the condition would leave her unable to bear children. As a safety measure, she was quarantined.
I was in a small room. I have no more friends. They not coming to see me at the hospital.
A lot of people don't like to go to hospital. They don't know what to tell them.
At that time also I had a new boyfriend, and it was just the beginning of a relation. He never came to see me at the hospital. He never called.
When you are 14 years old and that's your first love story, let's say, it's very important.
I was in love with him, so I was really a little bit depressed about that.
They don't know, especially, that you don't have to say anything. You just have to be there. You just go and show your love or your affection by being there. That's all.
I was going every day with Danielle. Every weekend, Danielle was preparing a meal or something, and everything we do, we're doing it for her. She was the center of our life.
Despite everyone's best efforts, Sophie's condition took a serious turn for the worse.
We know if you have gangrene on a foot, to stop the gangrene, you just cut your foot. But if you have gangrene around in this special area, you can't cut. You're gonna cut what? You're gonna cut the lower part of your body?
It was a hole, and the lining of that hole was black as coal.
I couldn't sit, I couldn't walk. It was so painful. I never felt so painful.
I was already overwhelmed by the problem, but this is another one. Another feeling that it was, I mean, now I'm comforted to gangrene.
That seems that nothing can help me. It was really, it was difficult mentally.
Sophie and her parents were doing everything doctors had told them to do, but seemingly it wasn't enough.
They said that I only have 3 days to live.
I got furious when he told me that. I said, who are you to tell me my daughter has 3 days to live? You're not God, I'm sure. You are not the one who is going to tell her this. Only God can decide.
We feel like, okay, she won the first fight. Let's try to win the second fight.
Armed with a renewed determination, Sophie and her parents re-enlisted their main ally in her first victory over cancer.
So we pack all her stuff, and I already made arrangements with Jacinthe Lévesque in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu to receive us. We left the hospital at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock we were in Saint-Jean.
Sophie was not even able to walk by herself. She was supported by her mother and her aunt, and we almost had to carry her when she first walked into the clinic. The first eye-to-eye contact I had with Sophie, I asked her, Sophie, do you want to live? That was my first question before going into the program. And she said, yes, I want to live.
I refused to think that I'm going to die in 3 days. I didn't feel inside, I didn't feel that I'm going to die.
You got hope again, and something you don't have 3 days before when she left the hospital.
Once at the clinic, Sophie started again on the compound 714X. Therapists combined that with a strict diet and acupuncture targeted specifically at her pelvic infection.
She started right away the electric acupuncture in this specific area.
It started to heal. It started to be better. The pain was better. She could walk around.
The health is coming back again. The tissue around this place turned pink.
And I strongly believe to that that if Jacinthe Lévesque didn't do this acupuncture, electric acupuncture right there, okay, the blood had never came back to this area and she would have never healed herself.
In 3 weeks, the staph infection had cleared. Alternative treatments had successfully cured that which Sophie's doctors could not. Her fight against leukemia was progressing as well, so she went back to the hospital for blood tests.
And she was cancer-free. So no more cancer in the blood cells, and the infection was being controlled.
My blood is cancer-free, so I was in remission.
Doctors had told Sophie Kim that she had 3 days to live. She was not willing to accept that sentence, so she took it upon herself to find a way to survive.
And I strongly believe that she made it happen for herself because she has a strong will. She is very positive.
You know what she did at the hospital at one point? She did put a note on her door. The message was the following: anybody who wants to come in this room, please be positive. If you are to be negative, stay out in the corridor. I don't need your help.
I thought that the power of being positive can help me to cure.
Obviously, yes, the alternative practices did help her, but her mindset, her attitude, she has a winner attitude. If it can be done, I will do it. And she's still like that. I mean, it's part of her personality.
I have a fighting mind.
It certainly served her right being like this in the circumstances she had to go through. Definitely. It's part of I would say that's the key ingredient of her success.
Now cancer-free, Sophie jumped back into life. She graduated high school and college and became a teacher. Even more amazingly, Sophie has since welcomed 2 beautiful children into the world.
They're all perfect children for me and for her, and she is a mom. She's a perfect mom. And you know, we're having so much fun together. We're a great team, me and her, you know.
I thought I'll never have grandchildren from Sophie, but now I have 2 very wonderful grandchildren. I can't be more proud of her than that.
I was very proud of her because I think it's easier for people in this condition to just let go instead of fighting.
I always visualized myself as healthy. I did not want to die, so I never gave up.
I think she had that love for life since she born, and she never lost it.
A perfect world would be that everybody talks, exchange what they went through, because the experience of one can profit to somebody else.
I think alternative medicine are good.
You never know, somebody listening to what I'm saying today might say, I didn't try that. Let's see if I try that, what's going to happen.
If I didn't have the severed 14 eggs, I'm sure that I will be dead. I think I'm the alive proof that it works.
While most kids worried about good grades or making the team, Sophie Kim faced the end of her life before it ever really got started. At 14, leukemia turned her world upside down. Then more cancer and serious infection added to her sense of despair. Western medicine did what it could, but it was not enough. It was Sophie's willingness to reach beyond common treatment, and most astonishingly, to call upon her own uncommon determination, that got her through it.